the idea, I mean, your question, I think, is, with all respect, is a silly question. How can we reorganize things so we can solve this problem? I'm not convinced that the reform is going to come from above. Again, there's no single magic bullet. It's not as if the state can come up with an idea, say, okay, everyone only has to work 15 hours a week and there's a minimum wage of, $20 an hour, and then everyone survives. That could conceivably work, but it's politically inconceivable. It's never going to happen. So there's certainly more. It's certainly going to be a more disruptive, painful, turbulent period up front than this reform. Think of the Industrial Revolution. Think if we were on camera in 1820, we had similar sort of meta themes of inequality, of the exploitation of labor, of the threat of unemployment. And it took a century to work, or even 150 years to sort these things out. I mean, the high point of the Industrial Revolution was in the 1950s to the 1980s. And to get there, we had to have communism and fascism and 2 world wars, and tremendous labor oppression, and the rise of unions and general strikes and class warfare. The mechanization of labor, the digital revolution, what Bryn Johnson and McAfee called the second machine age, this is as profound, as traumatic a technological revolution. So I think we have to expect equivalent traumas in political, social, cultural life. And the idea that there's a single solution, or that we can go from the old world to the new world simply. Look at the trauma of the digital revolution on media. And that still hasn't been resolved. In fact, there seems to be less and less evidence that will ever be resolved. Look at the impact of digital revolution on newspapers, on the music business, on writing, on journalism. So I think one of the things, maybe this is an American cultural trait, is the idea that there's always a solution, that technology must have a solution. Just as you have these people who argue, well, technology will always create jobs. It has in the past, but there's no guarantee in the future. That faith in the future is a religious faith in technology. It's totally irrational. It's not grounded in any reason, any empirical evidence. So what I can say for sure is that it's going to be deeply traumatic, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Events themselves will, in some ways, contribute to the solution. In the same way as for us to solve global warming, we need the environment to get worse. We need it to become self-evident that there's global warming, that the world is going to get flooded, that the polar ice caps are melting. It's only in the last resort that we respond, and the same is true with this. It's like data. People say, well, when are we going to learn to have privacy? Only when we have an Exxon Valdez or a Chernobyl in data, a total meltdown, and everyone's data gets out there, and suddenly everyone wakes up. It's always the case. That's the nature of what it is to be human.